The April 14th, 2022 City of Friendswood Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting is now called to order. We will begin this evening by receiving any communication from the public or committee liaisons to the commission to comply with provisions of the Open Meetings Act. The commission may not deliberate on subjects discussed under this agenda item. However, the commission may direct such subjects be placed on a later regular commission agenda for discussion and/or possible action. Seeing no one at this time, we'll move on. Is there anyone, next is our consent agenda. These items are considered routine or ministerial in nature and will be enacted with one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of items unless the commissioner so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? This is for our consent agenda.
Oh, yeah. Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. Okay, next on our agenda are our action items. According to the Planning and Zoning Rules of Procedure R 2021-18, all action of the commission shall be made by an affirmative vote of 4 or more members of the commission present at such commission meetings. Our only action item this evening is to consider a request to vacate a 20-foot drainage easement and a 10-foot drainage access easement for maintenance located at 1309 Falling Leaf Drive, Friendswood, Galveston County, Texas. We will now open the public hearing to receive comments, both oral and written, regarding the proposed amendments. We'll start, Aubrey, is there a staff summary?
Yes, sir. So this is just a request to abandon a portion of a drainage easement and the adjacent 10-foot maintenance easement. The meets and bounds description in your backup material showed the easement in pink. It's on the screen right now. We did receive several phone calls on this, concerned that I think more about the drainage easement across the back of the property, but we assured everyone that that will remain. This portion of the easement doesn't have any swales, underground pipe, or anything that's serving for detention purposes. The drainage district did give a no objection letter for the abandonment.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Would the applicant like to say anything concerning this request? You're not required to, just if you'd like to make any comments. Now's your time.
Sure, I'll just...
If you could step up to the mic.
3 minutes.
Oh, no, step up to the mic and state your name for us, please.
Ross Eubanks. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so me and my family, my wife and children moved here in August of 2021 and fell in love with this property. And this, as you can see from this exhibit here, it has some encumbrances on it. It had a drainage easement that we're discussing this evening. It also has some crude oil pipelines that were owned by Enterprise at the time. And the previous landowner had already started the process of abandoning this easement and had gone to Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District, spoke with them. I did the same. There was no objection to removing the drainage easement. It isn't active. I actually had a topographic survey performed, and there is no drainage swale. There's no active utilities, and I didn't find anything that indicated there ever had been. So there's the 30-foot drainage easement along the southern edge, and the 10-foot maintenance easement will remain as is, and access will be provided to those easements from Falling Leaf Drive.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for or against making these changes? Seeing none, the public hearing. Oh, sorry, please. Absolutely, please. If you come up and state your name, glad to get your input.
My name is William Pope. I live behind on the other side of the back side of the property. I guess the question is, if we're going to provide access to the easement this way, where's that access going to go? Because right at the corner of the property and Falling Leaf, there's above ground pipeline that goes across there, and it would have to go. I don't know, I'm no engineer or anything, but it seems like it would have to go through the corner of the property itself to get to it. So is there going to be an area that's going to be a new access, something that's going to be designated for ever and ever, that's going to be access to that serviceable utility lines and everything? How are we going to get in there to work on it? Because even when they had on that, I keep pointing at it, I don't know what to call it, but we had a bunch, there's utility poles there, and they went across that easement with utility trucks to get in there and trim trees and everything last fall. So it's not like it isn't used. It was used less than 6 months ago, less than a year ago, as access to the utility poles. So how are those big trucks going to get in and out of there is my only question. As long as we have something that's designated and says, yeah, there will always be access off a falling leaf, fine.
And just to be clear, because we're going to come back and we're going to close the public hearing and then go into a discussion on these topics. So just so that I'm clear, we discussed the right topics. Your concern is about access easement along that fence line.
Correct.
Okay, now I understand.
Correct. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Southern fence line on the graphic.
Can I walk up there and point to what I'm talking about?
Oh, that would be very helpful.
So this is all Texas New Mexico power. And when these trees all needed trimmed to keep them off the power lines, they brought trucks, if I'm not mistaken. If you were there, right, they came right across here to bring the trucks in.
Okay.
Down in this corner off Fallen Leaf, I know that, this is a ditch, it's pretty deep, there's an above ground pipeline that goes across there. So would there be a new access here?
Okay.
Something that's designated, this is.
If you're gonna add more comments, they won't be able to hear you on the mic. If you have more to say, please come up here to say it, or if you're done.
Well, I don't know, I think I repeated the same thing.
Okay,
just
okay.
pointing.
Okay, thank you, sir, for clarifying.
Okay.
So to be clear, is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against making this change? Okay, seeing no one else, the public hearing is now closed. The commission will now consider making a recommendation on this request. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aubrey, just checking with you again, is there anything further you'd like to say on this from a staff perspective?
No, sir.
Okay. Mark, we'll start with you. Any questions?
I'll make a statement and then I have a clarifying question. Yeah, look, this feels right to me. If it's not being used and the property owner wants access to that portion of the property, I think they have the right to do that. But I do understand that there are other concerns. So that easement on the south side of the property, when looking at this diagram, when you look at it from the street, there's a fence that comes across that. And by right, easements, I mean, they can have access to it if they want, but this is a drainage easement, not a utility easement or anything that would require access. It's there to provide drainage. Am I interpreting that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
And you're talking about the easement that that abuts the wilderness trails. I can't tell north or south from this drawing.
Yeah, I'm going south per the drawing.
Okay, but
yeah.
Oh, it's on there. Is it?
No,
But it's the one, to be clear, it's the one that's next to Section 3 wilderness
Behind
trails.
all those properties,
Yes,
right? So there's
okay.
a tree line there, and there's telephone poles and overhead lines. So from what I understand, that's the concern, is how would people get there? But from looking at the drawing, there's nothing that dictates that easement would have to be provided. So that was the question I had. So there's nothing that tells me, go ahead with your laser pointer.
So this portion back here will remain. This portion up here, from here to here is the portion that's requested to be abandoned. And it is just a drainage easement. That's not a utility easement. So Texas, New Mexico will need to work out with the property owner access to that utility easement in the future.
So the south horizontal, that is a utility easement?
This is not
Drainage.
even,
That's a drain.
it's just
Okay,
drainage.
that's what I thought it was. Okay, so there is no utility easement
There are
here.
utilities
Well,
Right.
in that, along the easement, but that easement that's on the plat is not a utility easement, it's
Right.
a drainage.
Yeah, that's the clarification I was
Well-
trying to get. Go ahead.
If you had more questions of the applicant, I was gonna bring the applicant back up.
Okay.
But do you have more?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the two things that I had. I think this is within our realm to for me to support it. So
Okay.
I'm done. With
Commissioner
what I-
Sasson?
Yeah, I didn't think there was any controversy. Now, I'm hearing a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about it. I can see that the pipeline restricts access to that utility easement, so you'd have to come in by hand or make an agreement if there's something had to be done on that drainage ditch that goes along the fence line. But I'm not sure they would go along that section anyway. No, I have no questions. Thinking out loud, really.
Yeah, Commissioner Mann?
I think it is valid that if they've just recently used that to get on there, to use that easement to get to the drainage, then that does bring up a question. But like you said, it's not a utility easement. If they need to get in there to do something for that, they're gonna need to figure out a way to do that, and that's not prohibitive to what he's requesting.
Yeah, this is a drainage district issue, and they have no problem with it. So they've already come back and I'm sorry, I'm taking off your spot there, but, yeah.
Do you mind if I approach the?
Give me 1 second and I'll call you back up if you don't mind. I hear that as well. It's good to know that I've been out there and I trespassed on your property slightly. I didn't go behind the fence.
You and a lot of other people.
Oh, but I did go out. We did go out there. We walked around and looked, and I get the point now that historically maybe Texas, New Mexico, and others have used the drainage easement for right or wrong to access their lines back there. But again, I think Aubrey said it best that they're going to have to come up with another way to get there to maintain those lines. But that this is really not an access easement that we're vacating. It's purely a drainage easement that no one should have been using anyway for access. So just was convenient, I'm sure. So I think, I think this makes sense as long as it's going to be up to Texas, New Mexico to gain access, because they have to obviously do maintenance. And I assume, Aubrey, there is a utility easement back there as well? There's not supposed to be?
There's not a dedicated, there are power lines, overhead lines and poles, but there's not a dedicated easement for utilities. It happens.
Happens from time
Really?
to time. Because as most of what we see is there's a dedicated utility easement that allows access for maintenance. So in this particular case, maybe it's old enough or whatever that it just doesn't exist.
And maybe it's further down. I mean, to access right where you need to work isn't always the way it works out.
Well, what Aubrey's saying is there's no utility easement where those poles are.
The utilities go through there without an easement. That's what I'm hearing.
Even as far as they go down, off of this map.
We can always look at the plats and see if there's any utility easements after the fact and maybe coordinate with the
Yeah.
adjacent homeowners. But for this subject
Right.
property and abutting to wilderness trails, there's no utility easement.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. There might be one, but it's way over that way. Or
And it could be, a lot of the older subdivisions, they just didn't think to put those type things in place. It's just you need power, so here's the power. and-
Here's the power pole. Mr. Eubanks, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was. Maybe this will help.
Maybe this will help clarify. So can I have the pointer?
Anybody in the aisle with it?
So this drainage easement that we're talking about is really, someone mentioned it's not an access easement. It's intended for purposes of Galveston County Consolidated Drainage. So where the people were coming in to maintain it was the path of least resistance, was through my gate and across the field. And so really that's actually located around here. And so they weren't technically using that as an access easement. And there is such a thing as an access easement that people would, that can be platted for these very purposes. And the other thing is, if you have the lots going this direction and there's a utility issue because there's utilities, they wouldn't come over here to access that. So they would have to work with the property owners each and every property owner there to address the utility issues that exist.
If you would just address the commission at this point, sorry.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know-
sorry.
I know you're answering
Okay,
questions.
yeah,
But,
well,
okay, well, I think
that
you've
make sense?
I think
Yeah.
you've clarified what
Okay.
we thought, so thanks for clarifying where they were accessing. Any other comments for vacating this small drainage easement? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous.
And just to explain the process a little
Oh.
bit, this is a recommendation that goes to
Yes,
city
that's
council.
correct. That's fair.
City council will have a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance on May 2nd.
Perfect. Thank you for, because I said it earlier about making a recommendation. I didn't say it here.
Can we ask one more process?
Yeah, if you would, sorry, protocol wouldn't allow it. The next agenda topic is the discussion, a discussion on eliminating or reducing the number of liaison assignments to various boards and committees. Aubrey, you want me to kick that one off? Or?
Sure.
Okay. So right now, currently, the commission we have 6 liaison assignments and 2 very active subcommittees, as you well know. We've started looking at the ability for all of our commissioners to make, we meet twice a month. Council only meets once a month. And then we have our subcommittees as well. We're looking at the value of attending these liaison assignments, and just wanted to kind of kick it around tonight as a discussion topic of is it worth our time? And I will just tell you, I'll start off by saying we're still going to go to city council regardless. That one is, I think, is our highest priority one, is to have somebody from P&Z at city council. The second, probably to me, depending on what's going on in the city and what's going on in those different boards, but the Consolidated Drainage District has a lot of overlap with what we do. As an example, in the last meeting, 3 of the topics that they discussed were topics that we had either addressed already or going to address. So there is an overlap there. Then the rest are great to have. It's important, but I just don't think they're adding value enough for the time and effort for our commissioners who already have subcommittee meetings, we meet twice a month. So that kind of brought up that discussion amongst ourselves and deciding, do we really want to continue? And we can always decide to limit them, do away with them completely, and they can always be brought back later if circumstances change. But whether we make KFB or CEDC, sometimes I think it's not providing enough value to take time away from your families, your jobs, and all the meetings that we do have over a course of a month. That was my thoughts. Discussion?
I'll speak to CEDC since I was on that board for, 5 years or something like that, and then the current liaison. With Aubrey there, there's, as you guys know, there's probably not much I can offer above what she can already provide. But I would like to wait until they come on the backside of their retreat and find out maybe there's a need that they do have someone there. I think a good compromise could be something like ad hoc, and we pick a liaison and they call us in just when they have agenda item that's specific that they want to collaborate with us on. But I can understand that's a commitment. Are they leaving their time in the afternoon, like at 3, something like that?
4, yeah.
4. So when it's at 4, it's a little bit easier to get to. When it's at 9 o'clock in the morning on a weekday, it's harder for those who aren't retired. So, yes, I can go either way, but there's probably some common ground there. I would recommend for that one we wait and hear from them on what they might need from us.
Yeah, I don't think we have to make a decision tonight necessarily. Just it's a discussion topic.
I agree with you.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay.
I do think there's value in going on occasions, but when you go to the same meeting over and over again and you don't have anything to say, and then you come here and go, well, they said a couple things, but we kind of covered it. But I will say, of the important ones, they're difficult to attend when it's during the week at 8 o'clock in the morning. Those are working hours, so they're
Right.
a difficult one to attend, even with the best intentions. I know I'm guilty of missing for sure. So even the important ones are hard to attend. So you can see it, you start
Right.
adding on other ones. I can see that However, if there's value at being there, so maybe this is something that we also communicate and see, are we adding value for them in addition to, are they adding value to us? So.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, these liaison assignments have been fluid since I've been on the commission. We used to attend the library board, and they move, and we decide some are useful and some aren't. I don't think this is one decision. I think it's actually 6 decisions, and I think we need to step through them one at a time. I think you've already articulated city council's important, and you go to those, and I usually do too. And I think that is important. The drainage district we can talk about. The CBOA, Construction Board of Adjustments, hasn't met in years, I think, so it's kind of a non-issue, but I would like to kind of understand the ramifications of not going on that, because I've never been to one of those. The ZBOA also meets infrequently, a couple of times a year maybe. I actually consider that one fairly important personally, but doesn't happen very often. But I think it's where they can overrule something we have ruled on before, and we need to kind of know that, although Aubrey and Becky can kind of keep us up to date on the results of that, and it's not like we're going to influence it so much, more like we're going to firsthand see it, and we can secondhand see it and probably glean the information. CEDC you've talked about a little bit, and I think you're right, we need to wait a little bit to hear where they're going and if they think we bring value. I was at the FDEDC meeting earlier this week, and they don't call on us. I don't think they get, and the updates to that can be given. I think you keep familiar with what's going on there. It doesn't move fast. So it's not like there's a lot of changes each week, but it is good to hear. So I think we need to step through them one at a time. I think we need to make individual decisions on them, but in general, I support the idea of reducing the number of liaisons we have on this. But I do think we need to hear from the other 2 commissioners when they come back.
So your thought is to wait for we have a fuller commission to get more input. I did talk to Kathy Kerner, and she was in favor of limiting and reducing or eliminating the liaison positions. But I can't speak for Tom and Dick. So. Okay, that's fair. I mean, there's only 4 of us here tonight. We have 3 more that we can hear from. There's no emergency that.
Yeah, it's not a pressing thing necessarily. It's just something we'd like to clean up. And I support your idea of doing this. So, yeah.
And just to add, like for the drainage district, we get summary reports from the general manager. Joseph sends us summary reports of all their actions. So, I mean, we could put that in y'all's backup material to keep you informed of what projects they're seeing as well. Just to keep you in the loop. So, and then ZBOA, typically we keep up with those items, and those are the items that if we get multiple requests for the same item, we typically bring it to y'all and look at the zoning ordinance, like, we keep getting requests for this same item. Maybe we need to look at the zoning ordinance, and we've done that multiple times. The ordinance actually requires when an agenda is posted for ZBOA, City Council and Planning and Zoning are both notified that they are going to have a meeting. Right. So there's some other methods there other than having to attend all those meetings.
Okay.
It would be good to touch base with the people running those, Kevin Holland for Galveston County and each of the different boards, just to make sure they don't say, hey, you guys really help us.
Who's going to do that? The liaison for those?
That's probably right. Well, I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking the guy who brought up this idea of trying to dismantle this, but
I think that's a horrible idea. I think there's better ideas.
Well, there's probably a better relationship there between the individual who does go routinely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I was just gonna say I don't. Okay. I mean, I think it's fair. We need to notify them. I don't know that we need to ask to be. I mean, I don't want to say it the wrong way. I don't want to ask their permission, but I would be interested to hear if they have a thought different than ours.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah. If they had some input saying, "Hey, you guys really do bring value that we didn't think we did."
Okay,
I don't think you're going to hear that.
Okay, and that's fair. And the other thing I heard tonight that makes very much sense as well. We're missing 3 of our members. It'd be nice to make sure everybody's on board with this, not just the 4 of us running amok. Okay, so we can. Aubrey, is there any issue with bringing this back up on our next agenda?
No.
and give everybody time to think about it?
Mhm.
Okay. And if you would, in the meantime, if you could check with, if you felt so inclined, check with your liaison
Yeah.
groups and just say, hey, this is what we're considering. Any concern with that?
Okay.
Because we're always available ad hoc to attend any of their meetings at request. Okay. Okay.
And we could, we could send a blanket notice to all of the liaison that are individual, but do a blanket like letter saying we're not going to be attending anymore. But if you ever need us, for input, let us know. We'd be more than happy to attend and kind of just send them all a courtesy notice.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, good. Okay, let's see, the next agenda is the consideration and possible action regarding future planning and zoning commission meeting dates. Aubrey?
Our next regular meeting is Thursday, April 28th, and then our first meeting in May is going to be May 12th. And just a reminder, I will not be here for either one of those meetings. So y'all will be in good hands with Becky. And Christine will be helping.
Okay. Okay, our final agenda topic is communications, and we'll start with commissioner updates on liaison assignments that we just talked about, or any other general topics. Mark, we'll start with you.
I'll be quick. I tested out a remote capability with Aubrey. So we've got some flexibility there going forward. I will not be here on the 28th, but I don't think I'm going to ask for remote access to get set up. I'm not sure if my agenda when I'm remote will support that, but I can touch base with you guys later. But it's pretty cool. I mean,
Cool.
Very effective. I'm sure it's easy for me to say it looked like they took some time to get set up. So, all right.
All right. Commissioner says.
Yeah, this month I got to attend the city council meeting. They talked about a lot of different things that were important, but things most relevant to us is the Garden Home District change to the zoning codes was approved on the first reading unanimously without any comments. And the PUD was approved, the PUD ordinance change was approved second reading, so that's now into law. They also came out that we are the 19th safest city in Texas. Above 25,000 people, we are number 2, number 39 in the country, so we can be quite proud of our city. And then I also got to go to the FDEDC meeting. They have new street signs delivered for downtown. Great big street signs, they're huge, orange. You will see them when they go up, you will notice them. They will not be subtle. They're orange and black, very large. And after the sidewalk's complete, they're going to be installed, and the sidewalk is nearly complete. They just have some brick left to do on one side of the sidewalk, so they're in the home stretch. It looks quite nice. I don't know if you guys have taken a look, but I think it looks nice. They're still working on the lighting RFP. I'd missed 3 meetings, and that sounds like what I said 3 meetings ago. They're targeting a June award for the lighting request for proposal on the new lights. And they expect the traffic signals. I guess you've seen the post arms put up on the new post arms. They're going to be they expect the traffic signal marking material end of April, and 4 to 6 weeks to install that. They did a quick check of their balance, and they are now up to $2.57 million in the bank. They seem to add about $50,000 worth of tax revenue a month. And that's all I got.
Commissioner Mann.
Nothing to add.
Okay. I did attend the Drainage District meeting, and they did talk, just to pass along, back to overlap or at least similar topics. They took action on the Avalon at Friendswood Section 2 final drainage plan, approved that. They took action Avalon at Friendswood Rec Center, which we saw as well. They approved that. And they took action on Sterling Creek Section 7, the preliminary plat. They approved that for drainage. And then the last was the Friendswood High School additions and renovations, which we had seen as well. Package 2, their final drainage plan, which they approved. So with that, that's the only comments I had. So next would be Commissioner Hanks. Commissioner. Councilmember Hanks, sorry, my apologies.
That's all right. It's okay, quite all right. So I do want to tell you tonight, Richard, thanks for some of your update about things that are going on in the city. Because I don't know if I can announce that or not. If it's not on the agenda, I'm getting confused. But I did want to announce tonight about the election May 7th, and early voting starts Monday the 24th. And you can check the website for all the different times and dates. The main polling location is on Morningside. It's the Senior Activity Center. Is that the Harris County election site too, for Harris County residents of Friendswood? That's the only one that's listed on the website. So I'm thinking that may be the only polling place. But maybe during early voting, there are some satellites. But it's all on the website. There are also the proposed changes to the charter. And all of that is discussed, and the city is putting out some education materials regarding each one of those changes, and that should be on the website as we speak also. So that's it. Thank
Great.
you very much.
Well, thank you for coming this evening. Aubrey?
Just the March DRC report was in your backup material. If y'all have any questions on that, let me know.
Okay. Becky?
The Ordinance Subcommittee is working on getting back together. We've kind of been on hiatus for a bit, which, you know, we did quite a bit there.
Oh, you did. Absolutely.
No, we're just trying to get everybody's schedules together. So Tom had emailed and proposed maybe setting like a set date, you know, the first Thursday of every month or something like that we can stick to. Although apparently the first Thursday of May, Rich has plans.
Yeah, that's right. Cinco de Mayo, what are you kidding?
So we're working on getting a set date, but we're going to get back on our to-do list, and we're still on track, so we're good.
Perfect. Karen, anything? Okay. That's it for me as well. So the April 14th, 2022 Planning and Zoning regular meeting is now adjourned.